Hey folks, I'm James Washington, a spry 74-year-old with a bit of a story to share about the latest curveball thrown by my son. I spent my career as an electrical engineer and have made a pretty good life here in Charlotte. Over the years, I figured I'd earned myself a little respect. But last Tuesday, Marcus, my son, sent me a whopper of a bill, $190,000 for his wedding, and had the gall to tell me I wouldn't be attending. This wasn't just for the venue and the honeymoon. It came with a snarky note at the bottom saying I should be grateful to have a chance to help out. I just stared at it, and a cold, knowing smile appeared across my face. That same night, I was on the phone with my financial advisor to discuss adjusting some accounts and chatting with my lawyer about some contracts. Growing up in segregated North Carolina taught me that true dignity comes from within. It's not about making everyone else happy. My late wife Ruth and I put in the work, lived honestly, and saved wisely. Our snug brick home with a little garden was a testament to our choices. Ruth passed away 5 years ago. Cancer took her, leaving me to face the changes in Marcus by myself. During his school days, Marcus was the ideal kid, bright, mannered, and even snagged a scholarship to Duke. However, after making his way up the corporate ladder and meeting Ashley, it seemed like his priorities shifted completely. Ashley Richardson, she's from that kind of old money in Charlotte that keeps to itself and decides your worth based on your address. At family dinners, she'd flash these polite smiles while dropping hints about the importance of climbing social ladders. I watched as Marcus seemed to trade his core self for her aspirations. The first red flag surfaced at Ruth's funeral. Marcus was sharp in a brand new suit, and Ashley whispered constantly to him about keeping things brief. When I suggested having Ruth's choir sing her favorite hymn, Ashley mentioned it might be over the top, and Marcus went along with her. 6 months later, they shared their engagement news over a Sunday meal. Instead of joy, Ashley dominated the moment with wedding plans that felt more like corporate pitches than romantic gestures. I asked about the guest list, and she said it was an intimate affair, which basically meant excluding families seen as not meshing with their lifestyle. Then a month ago, the kicker hit my mailbox. A wedding invite list that missed my name, yet included her yoga teacher and personal shopper. I called and Marcus clumsily remarked about limited space and social dynamics, but then Ashley took charge. James, she said, as if explaining to a child, we need this day to be about our future, not get stuck in past ties. You understand, right? Oh, I understood all right. My son surrendered his spine for acceptance in a world that would never truly embrace him. To Ashley, I was simply an awkward piece of Marcus's past that didn't suit their Instagram highlight reel. But here's their oversight. They thought they could leave me out of their event but still have me pick up the extravagant tab. That invoice sitting on my kitchen table was proof that their presumption knew no bounds. From the venue hire, swanky catering, to a lavish honeymoon, it was all mapped out, ego included. They underestimated this retired engineer who spent a lifetime understanding systems and what happens when key components are removed. They're about to get a crash course in how closely respect and money are linked, and I'm preparing to reroute both. The vintage pocket watch on my mantle ticked away, counting the days since Ruth's passing, marking Marcus's years. Now it's poised to time the most significant lesson I'll ever impart, where love concludes and leverage begins. That evening, I fired up my laptop to start unraveling the tangled mess they've made. My first action? Look up Harbor View Estate. Their website unfolded like a view into a castle, all grandiose marble columns and glowing sunset snapshots. It was the kind of place that seemed to charge a premium just for the privilege of gracing its grounds. As I looked through their vendor conditions, something caught my interest. They required a 50% non-refundable deposit alongside strict policies for any alterations. Next on my radar was Premier Catering. Their photos looked like they could jump out of a high-end magazine, featuring jaw-dropping ice sculptures and waitstaff who probably pulled in more cash in an hour than I did in a whole day. What really piqued my interest was how they billed. They let corporate clients pay within 30 days, but for private events, they demanded wire transfers at least 72 hours beforehand. Then I took a peek at Platinum Events photography. Their Instagram was packed with shots of beautiful people in fancy places, Every photo staged to perfection for that ultimate social media impact. But the jaw-dropper was their VIP wedding package, which came with exclusive social media content, professional editing for magazines, and even coordination with lifestyle bloggers. This wasn't your average point-and-click photography. This was creating an image. I sank back into my chair as it all clicked. Marcus and Ashley weren't just planning a wedding. They were rolling out a full-scale production, complete with a script, staging, and a carefully curated guest list for maximum approval. Somehow they expected me to bankroll the entire performance without even a front row seat to see it unfold. Right on cue, my phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Washington, this is Jonathan from Premier Catering. We're finalizing the details for the Washington-Richardson wedding. Just wanted to touch base about your payment plan since you're listed as the primary contact. Call me when you have a moment." Primary contact. I stared at those words until they were etched into my brain. Marcus hadn't just sent me the bill. He'd made me the backup financial contact for all these vendors who'd be knocking on my door if payments weren't made. Bold move, to put it mildly. I picked up the phone and called the number. Jonathan picked up after the second ring, his voice polished with that professional enthusiasm you'd expect from someone who works with high-end clients regularly. "Mr. Washington, thanks for getting back to us. We're excited about the Washington-Richardson event. Just need to lock in the payment schedule." "Jonathan," I started, keeping my tone steady, "we need to set the record straight. I haven't approved any charges. If anything requires approval, it has to come directly from me, in writing." There was a pause on his end, followed by a slight throat clear. "My apologies, I thought the planner mentioned you were managing the account." Well, the planner was mistaken. No verbal agreements on my behalf. Everything requires my direct, written approval, or it's not happening, I insisted. After hanging up, I sat there as the day's light began to fade and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Control. Marcus had been slipping away, and I'd been helpless to stop it. But money was a language everyone understood, including my son. Suddenly focused, I opened a new browser tab and typed in Damon Turner's name, someone I hadn't connected with in ages. Damon, Marcus's best friend since middle school, was almost like family, having shared more dinners at our house than his own. While Marcus climbed the corporate ladder, Damon stayed true to his passion for photography, running a humble but honest business, capturing genuine families and moments at fair prices. His website was simple, clean, honest, offering portrait sessions, small weddings, and occasional corporate gigs. Nothing over the top, just quality work from someone who believed photos should reflect reality, not create a facade. I found his number and dialed before I could doubt myself. "Damon Turner Photography," came his voice. "Damon, it's James Washington." There was a pause, and then his tone turned warm and sincere. "Mr. Washington, great to hear from you. Just last week I was thinking of you." "Well, I've been better. Listen, I need a favor. It's about Marcus." I figured as much. He called me a few months back about shooting his wedding. When I told him my rates, he laughed and said they'd go with someone closer to their vision. Haven't heard from him since. The casual rejection stung. Damon was like another son to us, yet Marcus dismissed him for not fitting the budget he envisioned. "I need your help, Damon. This wedding has morphed into something Ruth would have hated. I'm trying to reach Marcus before he's lost entirely. Can you help? You know the industry, know the vendors. Help me understand what I'm really in for." There was a long silence. "Hold up for a sec." When Damon piped up again, his voice sounded like he was getting ready to take sides. "Mr. Washington," Damon began, "word on the street is that this isn't your ordinary wedding. It's more like a coming-out party." He hinted that Ashley was spreading around that this whole event was their grand entrance into Charlotte's high society. Heck, just the cost of the photography package they're looking at could buy a decent car. My gut twisted at the thought. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a debutante ball for couples. Their guest list was pretty much a roll call of the big shots in Charlotte's business world. They'd gone all out with vendors, picking the kind you'd only see in swanky magazines. Seemed like this whole production was Marcus and Ashley's way of announcing they've arrived. Arrived where, I wondered? To a place that apparently didn't have room for me. The weight of what Damon said lingered like smoke you couldn't wave away. I closed my eyes thinking about Ruth. I remembered the pride in her eyes when Marcus graduated from Duke, her hope and belief that we'd raised a man who would make good choices. Damon, could you dig into this for me? Get dirt on vendors, timelines, payment plans, anything that could give me some leverage? I can do more than just snoop, Damon replied. I know some people. Let me make a few calls. After our chat ended, I went over to the fireplace mantel and picked up a picture of Ruth. In it, she's holding baby Marcus, both of their faces lit up with joy that didn't need any touch-ups or filters. I traced her face with my finger, quietly apologizing for not keeping our son on solid ground. My phone buzzed yet again. This time it was Marcus on the line. Dad, I heard you contacted the caterer. Yeah, I did. Why are you making everything so complicated? Just sign the contracts and we'll handle the rest. Marcus, listen to yourself. You've kicked me out of the wedding but still want me to foot the bill. You're making financial decisions under my name without even looping me in. You're shunning friends who really care because they don't have the elite stamp. When did you become someone I barely know? Silence lingered over our call. When he finally spoke, he sounded smaller, like a kid trying to justify a bad report card. Ashley says you just don't get the kind of pressure we're under. Oh, believe me, I get it. You're trying to buy acceptance from people who'll always see you as nothing more than a sideshow at their gatherings. And you're trading your integrity and family for it? It's not as straightforward as that. It's exactly that straightforward. And you're about to find out the difference between supporting someone's dreams and bankrolling their illusions. I hung up before he could say anything else and quickly called my financial advisor. Robert, it's James Washington. I need an account set up, an escrow one with some serious restrictions. I want to have control over what goes out and when. As I gave him the details about the vendors, I finally felt something I hadn't felt in a while. The pleasure of drawing a line and seeing others have to respect it. Marcus was about to understand that my money came attached to my principles. 6 weeks to the wedding, just enough time to impart the most crucial lesson. Love's not for sale, respect isn't inherited, and family can't be upgraded like your phone plan. Outside, October's chill was closing in. Inside, I was crafting a lesson that couldn't be bought, but sure could be learned the hard way. The following morning brought clarity with the help of a steaming coffee mug. I sat at my kitchen table with a yellow pad, mapping out lines and connections like I'd done countless times with electrical schematics. Every system has its weak spots, places where a little touch could change the whole picture. Their wedding was like a house of cards, pretty but unstable. I just had to figure out which card to adjust. My first call was to Robert Chen, who had been my financial navigator through thick and thin for 15 years. Ever since Ruth's illness made me see the need for someone who was good in both finances and crises. James, always a pleasure. What's up? He asked. I need to get an escrow account with some tight conditions. I want to say in every penny heading to vendors. This is about the wedding. My son's got to learn he can't just go throwing my money around like it's a free-for-all. Robert let out a small laugh. Seen this story play out before. Kids with their folks' money thinking it's theirs to throw around. So what kind of conditions are we talking here? When it comes to the bare necessities like keeping the lights on, staying insured, and making sure there's food on the table, I don't play around. It's not about what's flashy or trendy for me. If it doesn't help in keeping people fed and safe, it doesn't get my dime. I'm all about drawing clear and reasonable lines. I can have all the necessary documents set up by today afternoon, giving you the authority over what bills to pay and when. Later on, I called Damon back after seeing he'd left a late-night message about some news that really ticked me off. Mr. Washington, he began, I looked into it. This wedding isn't just pricey. It's being crafted like some huge media spectacle. Ashley's gone and hired a publicist to pitch it to lifestyle magazines, dubbing it a modern love story. They plan on inundating social media with coordinated photos. Imagine needing a publicist for a wedding. I gripped the phone tighter and asked, what else? Well, the venue has a 6-month waiting list, but thanks to Ashley's family pulling strings, they got pushed to the front. As for the catering, they've got a wine pairing that's pricier per bottle than most people's monthly groceries. And get this, they've hired someone with a drone to capture shots of everything and everyone. Ashley's hoping it'll eventually become some kind of documentary. I closed my eyes and counted slowly to 10. Ruth would have been horrified. She saw weddings as a chance to publicly vow your forever to someone special, not treating it like you're debuting a blockbuster film. Damon, think you can dig up the schedules for vendor payments? Like when deposits are due and what the consequences are for late payments? I'll look into it, but these top-tier vendors, they're super strict about their timelines. Miss a payment, and they'll cut ties faster than you can blink. Great. Let them be strict. At least that means they're straight shooters. Once we hung up, I popped open my laptop and began typing what I called my Declaration of Financial Independence. Plain but with a no-nonsense legal bite, it laid out clear terms. I, James Washington, hereby outline these conditions for financial involvement in the Washington-Richardson wedding. First, any spending requires written pre-approval from me. Second, my financial backing rests on my role as the father of the groom. Third, no funds will support decorations, promotions, or media packages. Fourth, any breach nullifies all financial commitments. I printed it out, signed 3 copies, and locked one away in my safe. The other 2 were prepped to be hand-delivered, making sure the message came through loud and clear. At 2 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. Peeking through the peephole, I saw Ashley looking as polished as ever, wearing an outfit that probably cost more than what I spent on groceries in a month. She was holding a manila folder and had the aura of someone quite familiar with using charm to get her way. I answered the door but didn't ask her in. "James, we need to have a chat. We can chat right here." Her smile faltered slightly, but she held it together. "This involves the wedding, Marcus, and family. Can't we sit down like civilized people? Ashley, every time we've sat down, you end up telling me my being there would embarrass you. I'd rather stand." Her composure slipped a little. "Look, I know there have been some misunderstandings." "I see no misunderstanding. You don't want me at your wedding. You made that perfectly clear. But you do want my money. That's not a mix-up. It's a business transaction." She opened her folder and pulled out a flashy brochure. "I just wanted you to see what we're creating. It's not just a wedding. It represents everything Marcus has achieved. The venue, the guest list, the photographers. They're all showing the life he's built." I glanced at the brochure. It featured Harborview Estate, looking every bit like a movie set with its grand pillars and picturesque gardens. A place where regular folks might feel out of place. "Ashley, let me ask you, in all these plans, photos, guest lists, and media buzz, where exactly is love?" "I'm sorry?" "Love. The whole reason people get married. Where's that in your brochure?" Her facade cracked a little more. "But everything we're doing is about love. It's a celebration of us, of our journey." "No, you're celebrating an image, and that's a whole different story. You're missing what really matters, the position Marcus is in. He's mingling with the right folks, right places, and it's about so much more than just the 2 of them. This wedding, it's tied to his career, his whole future, and his family, who'll always be crucial in his life. They're a big enough deal to be at his wedding." We kept quiet until she finally said something, her voice cutting in a way I'd never heard before. "James, let's keep it polite here. Marcus and I have invested so much into making something truly special. We can't have anything messing up the vibe we've created." "Really? Am I just some unwanted element now? I've spent 40 years in work clothes, while their pals are all doctors, lawyers, big shots. They're used to a certain level of class." And there it was, the brutal truth she'd been dodging these past couple of years. It wasn't anything I did. It was simply who I was. A black man who worked his way up through sheer hard work, not because I was born with money. I was a constant reminder that Marcus hadn't always been in these circles where a bottle of wine costs more than most people pay in rent. "Ashley," I told her, "sophistication isn't about shunning the groom's father. It's not about sending invoices to folks you've excluded. Real sophisticated folks know love isn't just some brand to manage. Her face turned red at that. All right, she said, annoyed. You want to be stubborn? Marcus warned me you'd be tough. Said you didn't understand his ambitions. Did he tell you about the second mortgage I took out for his schooling? Or selling my truck for his mom's medical bills? Or the 60-hour weeks I put in so he could chase his dreams? That's all part of the past. But that's what real love entails. Not glamorous photos or a guest list meant for networking. Love is sacrifice. No applause expected. She stuffed the brochure back in her folder. I came to include you, she said. Help you see what we're building. But if you're going to be bitter about decisions not focused on you, then maybe it's best you stay home. Maybe that's how it is, I responded. But if I stay put, so does my cash. Her eyes narrowed into slits. What are you saying? I showed her an email from Robert on my phone, confirming the escrow account. It means every vendor needs my sign-off before getting paid. Your big plans won't be happening without it. That drone footage? You'll need another sponsor. You can't just do this, she fumbled. I can and did. Marcus put me as the main contact on the vendor contracts, giving me the legal power over payments. That calm mask she wore fell away. You greedy old man, she hissed. Have any idea what you're messing up? The connections, the chances? I'm not messing up anything. I'm drawing a line. You can climb your social ladder, just don't expect me to bankroll it. Marcus might never forgive this. Maybe so, I shrugged, but he'll respect it. I'll take respect over being forgiven. She stormed off, heels clicking like a clock running out. As her car disappeared, I felt contentment I hadn't felt in ages, finally setting a clear boundary. My phone buzzed right away. Marcus, voice tight with anger, asked, Dad, what did you say to Ashley? She's really upset. I told her love doesn't need a PR team. She's trying to make something special for us. No, I replied. She's doing it for appearances. There's a difference, and it's concerning that you don't see it. Why complicate this? We wanted you to be part of this, to help create something extraordinary. Sure, you wanted my money, yet pushed me aside. If you can't see the issue there, we've got bigger problems than just this wedding. The silence was heavy before Marcus spoke again, his voice softer, almost lost. Dad, I'm caught between you and Ashley. I care about you both. Then show it, I said. Stop treating me like an ATM and start treating me like your dad. What are you expecting from me? I want you to remember who you truly are. Not who Ashley wants you to be, but the person your mother and I raised. The air got thick with an awkward silence. I need some time to think. Good. Thinking is what adults do before making decisions. After we hung up, I ended up at the kitchen table, staring at my financial statements. Each vendor on that list was going to get one, making it clear that the free ride situation was over, and it now came with real strings attached. Later that evening, Damon called me back with more news. Mr. Washington, I chatted with someone at Premier Catering. They're fretting over timing. With everything being so extravagant, they need an extra week to get ready, but Harborview Estate won't give them exclusive access until your payment clears. If there's a delay with your escrow, they might have to scale back the menu. Great. Maybe my son will eat normal food instead of some fancy display. There's more. The photographer from Platinum Events, they're not just shooting the wedding. They're creating content for Ashley's brand kickoff. She plans to use the wedding shots for a lifestyle blog she's starting. I closed my eyes, feeling a headache building up. Something like elevated living, with Ashley presenting herself as the perfect hostess, all about style and grace. This wedding is basically her big showcase. Damon, could I ask a favor? Start collecting evidence. Photos, conversations, anything that shows this wedding isn't about love. Already on it, Mr. Washington. And sir, Mrs. Washington would be proud of you for standing up for what you believe in. After our chat, I picked up Ruth's photo from the mantel. In the soft evening light, her smile seemed almost prophetic, as if she knew this was coming and trusted I'd handle it well. I'm giving it my best shot, babe, I whispered to her picture, trying to keep our boy from becoming someone we wouldn't recognize. As Charlotte slipped into evening, inside, I prepared for a showdown where love couldn't be bought and respect had to be earned. With the wedding just 5 weeks away, each day Marcus hesitated between choosing his dad's values or Ashley's ambitions, made his life lessons all the more costly. The battle began on a Wednesday morning with an onslaught from many sides. First up, Marcus called, his voice sounding rehearsed like someone coached him. Dad, I've been thinking about our conversation. Maybe we can meet halfway. I grabbed my coffee, settled at the kitchen table. Okay, I'm all ears. How about we cut back on some extras? Skip over drone shots, cut down the flowers, but we need full catering and photography. These are investments for our future. Marcus, when did food become an investment? When did taking photos turn into a business strategy? You just don't understand the world I'm in now. Image is everything. The people who can help my career will be at this wedding. First impressions mean everything. And what impression does that make? That you're borrowing money you can't pay back to impress people you barely know? Silence hung in the air. Then he became defensive. I can pay it back. I'll get a promotion next month. Ashley's getting a raise. We've got this under control. What promotion? What raise, Marcus? You're banking on things that may not even happen. Dad, sign the papers. Please, for me, for Mom, for our family. Bringing Ruth into it was like a slap to the face. Don't you bring your mother into this. Ruth would be horrified by what you're doing. She believed in living within your means and respecting people, not ditching family that don't fit your new image. Mom would want me to succeed. Mom would want you to be decent. There's a huge difference. An hour later, Ashley showed up without warning. This time, she didn't bother with pleasantries. James, we need to straighten this out now. Vendors are asking about payment schedules. It's turning into chaos. For who? For all of us. Don't you care that? The thought of Marcus's parents failing to support his wedding. I need everyone to grasp it's about principles, not money issues. If that's unsettling, maybe reconsider what matters to you instead of digging into my finances. She whipped out her phone, revealing a screen full of texts. Take a look at this. The florist, the photographer, the planner, they all need a response. You're stirring up quite a storm here. When I sneaked a look at her phone, the texts had this undercurrent of unease, masked by the usual pleasant vendor lingo. Basically, they were saying, settle your debts and fix the timeline. They were on edge, sensing drama, but stuck relying on their customers. Ashley, this isn't just a mess. It's about handling responsibilities. Every business runs on the flow of cash, and vendors need to know who's really signing those checks. But it's actually you signing them. Your signature's on every contract. Those contracts might have my name, but I didn't sign them. Huge difference right there. Her chill facade cracked a bit. So what do you really want? More cash to spend? More influence in plans? A bigger part in putting things together? I want my son back. The one who called every Sunday, remembered my birthday, and wasn't embarrassed to talk about his dad. James, you're being dramatic. Things haven't changed between you and Marcus. Everything feels different. Before he valued my opinion, now he dodges my calls. He used to introduce me to his girlfriends, but he kept you hidden for half a year. We used to talk about the future with excitement. Now it's just spreadsheets and projections. Ashley's phone buzzed again, and she scowled at the message. That's Kevin Shaw, our wedding planner. He wants a meeting today to discuss the budget. Kevin Shaw? He's in charge of everything? Marcus got in touch with him through work connections. Apparently he caters to a very elite crowd. Something about how she said it rang alarms in my head. How elite are we talking here? He works solely through referrals. Very private, very professional. He plans weddings for some of Charlotte's most prominent families. Once Ashley left, I immediately contacted Damon. I need you to dig up some info on a Kevin Shaw. Wedding planner. Elite crowd. Referral only. Got it. Give me about an hour. Damon called back with info that made my blood run cold. Mr. Washington, this Kevin Shaw isn't just a wedding planner. He's what you call a lifestyle facilitator. He helps folks keep up appearances they really can't afford, arranging short-term loans through private lenders. It's like payday loans for the wealthy, A quick fix to bridge that gap between what you flaunt and what's true. Shaw takes a slice of whatever deals he makes. My stomach churn. Are you saying Marcus took a loan for this wedding? I'm saying Shaw's specialty is aiding young professionals to look well off until they actually are. Except most never do. What amounts are we discussing here? Looking at the vendor list Ashley shared, probably between 60 to 80 grand or even more. I hung up and called Robert Chen right away. Robert, I need a credit check on Marcus. Full report, recent activities, everything. James, I can't run a check without his consent. Then get him to agree. Say his dad needs to understand his finances clearly before making major decisions. If he refuses, that'll speak volumes. Marcus got back to me real quick, his voice taut with restrained annoyance. Dad, why dig into my credit? Don't you trust me? Marcus, trust isn't automatic. Lately, it feels pretty one-sided. This is downright insulting. I'm an adult with a stable career and a bright future. Then you should have no problem showing me your financials. There was a long pause. When Marcus finally spoke, there was a hint of something defeated or deflated in his voice. Dad, there are some temporary cash flow issues. What do you mean by temporary? Kevin arranged for a bridge loan to handle vendor deposits. It's standard for weddings of this level. Everyone does it. How much are we talking? 75 grand. That figure hit me hard. Marcus, that's more than a year's pay for many people. It's an investment in our future. Ashley's family expects a certain level of extravagance. And if your promotion doesn't come through, or if Ashley's raise is delayed, or if the economy sways and you're left buried in debt, Dad, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Things will be fine. You know, those are often famous last words of those who wound up penniless. That afternoon, Kevin Shaw himself called to set a meeting with me. His voice had that smooth confidence of someone who handles expensive fixes like it's second nature. Hey, Mr. Washington, I've heard there's a bit of a mix-up with the vendor authorizations. Let's grab a seat and I'll walk you through how our payment system works. All right, I'll meet you, but I'm bringing my financial advisor with me. Of course, transparency is vital when dealing with these issues. So we all gathered at Shaw's office, right smack in the middle of Charlotte's financial district. The place just oozed expensive secrecy with its leather sofas, wood-paneled walls, and abstract artworks that probably cost more than my car. Shaw was exactly what I anticipated, sharply dressed, well-spoken, and perfectly comfortable handling other people's finances. Mr. Washington, happy you could join us. Let me assure you, your son's financing is above board. We specialize in helping young professionals bridge the gap between what they currently earn and what they're projected to make. And what's the interest rate? I asked straight up. Shaw didn't miss a beat. Our rates are quite competitive for the kind of unique assistance we provide. That's dodging the question. Robert leaned forward. Mr. Shaw, what's the APR on Marcus's loan? 18%. I nearly blew my top. 18%? Are you for real? Mr. Washington, this arrangement is short-term, 6 months at most. Once Marcus gets his promotion, he can refinance through the usual avenues. But what if he doesn't get promoted? For the first time, Shaw's grin faltered just a bit. We're really optimistic about Marcus's prospects. However, if things don't proceed as expected, we can arrange a payment plan that considers everyone's interests. Robert and I exchanged a knowing glance. We both knew what that usually meant. Lawsuits, seized assets, trash credit. The usual fallout that happens when people confuse what they hope for with what's certain. Mr. Shaw, I'd like to see the loan documents. Apologies, those are confidential between us and Marcus. In that case, I think we're done here. I started to leave, but Shaw gestured for me to hold on. Mr. Washington, perhaps we can find some common ground. If you'd back some of Marcus's debt, we could offer him better terms. You want me to co-sign for my son's debt? Look at it as supporting his ambitions. I see it more like fueling his fantasies. Robert and I walked out without another word. That night, the vendor calls started coming in strong. Premier Catering requested payment proof. Harborview Estate needed deposit confirmation, and Platinum Events Photography required some contract clarifications. Each person was polite yet firm. Either the money had to move, or things would come to a standstill. I gave them all the same response. Send your invoices to my escrow account. If I give it the green light, you'll get paid within a day. If not, you'll have to figure out a different solution. By Friday, things were really heating up. Ashley called twice, Marcus 3 times, and Kevin Shaw left 2 voicemails. Every conversation followed the same pattern: begging, reasoning, cajoling, followed by threats. Dad, you're messing up my wedding. I'm giving you a lesson in dealing with consequences. Ashley's parents are starting to ask questions. Her dad wants to know if we're managing our finances properly. Are you? We can if you step in. That's not the same thing as managing it on your own. That Friday night, Damon rang me with some unsettling news. Mr. Washington, I spoke to someone at Harborview Estate. They're getting a bit anxious about the Washington-Richardson wedding. Payments are late, and they're starting to consider backup plans. What kind of backup plans? They've got other interested parties for that date. If payments aren't settled by next Wednesday, they might give it to someone else. Fine, let them. Marcus needs to learn about real-life deadlines. Saturday morning brought the most desperate call yet. Marcus sounded like he was at breaking point. Dad, please, I'm begging you. Just this one time, I need your help. I promise I'll pay you back. Marcus, I've been helping you all your life. College tuition, car payments, apartment deposits, hospital bills when you didn't have insurance. When was it ever just this once? This time is different. How exactly? Because if you don't step in now, I'll lose everything. Ashley, the wedding, my job reputation, everything. Maybe losing it all isn't the worst thing. Perhaps it's the catalyst he needs to find himself. After Marcus stopped talking, the silence was nearly overwhelming. He lowered his voice almost to a whisper. I'd never have thought my dad would just abandon me like this. I'm not abandoning you, came the calm reply. I'm just not going to step in to clean up the mess you got yourself into without even asking me. There's a huge difference there. Marcus looked up and asked, so what am I supposed to do now? Be honest with Ashley about your money situation. Have a smaller wedding that you can actually afford. Stop trying to impress people who probably wouldn't accept you for who you really are. And if Ashley decides she can't deal with it, well, maybe she wasn't the one for you anyway, came the straightforward advice. After that talk, I was sitting in my kitchen and found myself just staring at Ruth's photo for what seemed like an eternity. Dishing out tough love is never easy, especially because you have to let someone you care about face the music when you have the power to step in. But helping them out would only mean backing the same choices that got them there in the first place. Right then, the phone buzzed again. This time it was Kevin Shaw on the other end, his smooth demeanor sounding a bit shaken. Mr. Washington, we really need to discuss Marcus. The vendors are threatening to back out. Then Marcus needs to make some decisions, I responded. With all due respect, do you think this financial pressure is a bit too much for the young couple? Shaw pressed on. Mr. Shaw, you gave my son money for a wedding that was way over his budget just to impress folks he barely even knows. Don't talk to me about fairness. You're helping him chase a fantasy funded by borrowed money, and when it all blows up, you'll be fine while he's stuck with the debt. Mr. Washington, how about we try a payment plan that works for everyone? Shaw suggested. Here's my plan, I fired back. Marcus calls off the loan, tones down the wedding, and starts living within what he can afford, while you find another client to profit from. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer. Tom, can you draft a letter saying I'm not on the hook for any debts my son takes on without my clear, written permission? What's happening? Tom inquired. My son's about to learn the hard lesson that what he wants and what he can afford are two very different things. I just want to make sure his mistakes don't become mine to fix. Things were heating up just like a showdown, and the battle lines were drawn. Marcus, Ashley, and Kevin Shaw wanted to hold on to a vision of success built on debt and ignoring uncomfortable family truths. On the flip side, I was sticking to my principles and financial sensibility. The wedding was just a month away, and something had to give. I hoped that when the bubble burst, Marcus wouldn't find himself standing on shaky ground. Monday brought a call that suggested more problems brewing. Kevin Shaw's previously smooth voice now had a note of panic. Mr. Washington, we've got a big issue. The Harbor View Estate is going to cancel the venue if they don't get paid in full by Wednesday. Just 48 hours to go. Well, you might want to come up with $48,000 then, I told him. Sir, it's not only about the money, it's about your son's good name too, Shaw asserted. If it gets out that the Washington-Richardson wedding was called off due to non-payment, that's a stain that could follow him for a long time. I gently set my coffee mug down. Are you trying to threaten me, Mr. Shaw? I'm just laying out the potential consequences. The social circles in Charlotte are a lot tighter than you might think. People love to talk. Let them, I declared. Maybe they'll chat about how Marcus tried to keep up with the Joneses and his father didn't buy into the facade. Shaw continued. I've bailed out many families from tight spots like this. There's often a way that allows everyone to save face. Save whose pride exactly? I challenged. Yours, Ashley's? Because Marcus lost his self-respect the moment he got into debt to impress people who truly don't care. Shaw's tone turned more insistent. I'm genuinely trying to help Marcus here. No, I cut in. You're trying to protect your commission. Big difference. I ended the call and immediately rang Damon. How quickly can you get to the Harborview estate? I asked. About 20 minutes. What's up? Damon replied. I need you on the ground. If they're really ready to pull the plug, there will be signs, staff meetings, the whole 9 yards. So I'm handling these calls about booking options and things like that. About an hour into my drive, Damon called me again saying, Mr. Washington, it's for real. The events coordinator was on the phone with another client right when I walked past her office. I overheard her mention the October 28th slot might become available due to some payment issues. I thought, good, maybe Marcus will finally understand what contracts really mean. By lunchtime, Ashley was on the phone with me, completely panicked. James, Kevin mentioned you're not supporting the venue payment. Do you realize what this means? It's a big deal. Basically, it's a social disaster. Do you know who's supposed to be at this wedding? Marcus's firm partners, clients. Ashley has been building these crucial connections, people who could make or break careers. If we have to send out cancellations, we'll be a hot topic, and not in a good way. I said to her, Ashley, let me ask you something. If these people are really Marcus's friends and colleagues, wouldn't they understand if there are financial problems? Wouldn't they respect him for being financially prudent? She insisted, that's not how the world works, James. More like that's not how your world works, I replied. Her voice trembled as she responded, James, this is unraveling everything we've built. I shot back, what you've created is more like a house of cards, and I'm not going to support it with money I don't have. She warned me that Marcus would never forgive me. Maybe, I said, but he'll get over it, and one day he might even thank me. When Tuesday arrived, the confrontation I had both feared and anticipated appeared. Marcus asked to meet at Meridian Park, a place Ruth and I used to take him for feeding ducks when he was young. The whole situation was steeped in irony for us both. He was already there when I arrived, sitting on the exact bench where Ruth would read him stories. He looked much older than his 32 years, weighed down by stress and difficult decisions. Dad, we need to sort this, he began. I sat down but didn't speak right away. Sometimes silence is the best path to the truth. Kevin says the venue's lost unless we pay by tomorrow. Ashley's been crying for 2 days. Her mom called this morning to see if we needed financial assistance, which was just humiliating. I asked him what he'd said to her. I told her we were handling it. I pointed out, but we're not, right? Nothing's under control. I asked, Marcus, when did you stop being honest with me? He looked at the pond where the ducks floated lazily. When I started feeling ashamed. Ashamed of what? I pushed. Of needing help. Of not being as successful as I pretended. Of dating someone whose family has far more money than we'll ever have, he confessed. And borrowing was your answer? I asked. I thought it'd give me time to catch up. Catch up to what? I challenged. A fake lifestyle? Marcus, you're chasing something that isn't even real. We sat in silence for a while before Marcus softly spoke again. I love her, Dad. Maybe you don't get it, but I do, he said. I understand loving someone, I replied. What I don't get is losing yourself in the process to make them happy. She's not asking me to lose myself, is she? She wanted you to exclude me from your wedding. She's making you borrow money you can't repay. She's pushing you to be someone you're not. What's left of yourself in all this? Marcus buried his face in his hands. I'm lost. I don't know anymore, he admitted. Then maybe it's time you find out who you truly are. That night, the drama kicked off. Calls from Ashley, Marcus, and Kevin Shaw came streaming in. Each conversation followed the same pattern: begging, negotiating, threatening, then resorting to insults. You're just an old man bitter about not letting your son succeed, was one claim. You're destroying Marcus's future out of jealousy, was another. Ashley's always been right about your character, was shouted at me. I listened without arguing back. Sometimes the truth stands strongest when you don't fight against lies. Wednesday morning kicked off with a call I'd been expecting. It was from Harborview Estate, and the voice on the other end was polite yet determined. Mr. Washington, this is Patricia from Harborview Events. We're going to have to release the October 28th date to the next party unless we get your payment by 5 p.m. today. I replied, I understand completely. It's just business. She followed up with, is the payment coming through? I answered, not from me. Got it, she said. Should I let the wedding party know? I left that to her. That's up to you, I said. My son made commitments without the means to back them up. Now it's up to him to face the results. Later, around 3 p.m., Marcus called, practically sobbing. Dad, they canceled the venue on us. Ashley's locked herself in her room and won't come out. In the envelope were test results. This can't be right, Marcus muttered, barely audible. I'm afraid it is, I told him, struggling to keep my own feelings steady. The week had kicked off with a real shocker. The news came out of nowhere, catching me completely off guard. Damon had reached out, dropping a bombshell that flipped everything upside down. Mr. Washington, I've discovered something big. Ashley's been spending time with a real estate agent. Why? She's been looking at luxury condos, the kind with amazing city views. These places are double what Marcus pulls in a year. My heart dropped. Are you positive about this? I asked. I have evidence. Photos of her entering Pinnacle Properties just yesterday. My cousin's in the loop. He's a loan officer there. Ashley's been pre-approved for a swanky mortgage, one that assumes a $300,000 annual income. Marcus isn't even close to that. No, but add in a wealthy father-in-law, and the story changes. Suddenly, it all clicked for me, and I felt sick. Ashley was planning a wedding and lifestyle upgrade, thinking I'd foot the bill. This wedding was her way to secure a future at my expense. I had to speak to Marcus immediately. Son, we need to talk face to face. Dad, I'm not up for another financial lecture. This isn't your usual money talk. It's about the reality behind Ashley's plans. Something in my voice must have struck him because he agreed to come over. When Marcus arrived, I laid out Damon's photos. There was Ashley entering Pinnacle Properties, Ashley making deals with a real estate agent, Ashley checking out condos priced higher than most houses. I don't get it, Marcus said, although his tone hinted he was starting to comprehend. Your fiancée is setting up a lifestyle she expects me to cover. The wedding isn't an end for her financial wants. It's just the start. Marcus absorbed the images slowly. His eyes revealed a hurt I'd never seen in him before. Did she have this in mind from the beginning? I suspect Ashley saw a young, successful guy with family money and made her move. It's a harsh accusation, I added. It's a cruel game she's playing. Marcus stood and wandered over to the window, looking into Ruth's little garden, which I still take care of. When he turned back, he wore the weariness of someone who just realized they'd been carrying weight that wasn't theirs to bear. Dad, what if you're right? What if everything I thought was genuine was just manipulation? Then you've learned a crucial life lesson just in time. And if I'm wrong, Ashley will support you even when the money runs dry. Friday put us through some challenges we didn't want, but desperately needed. Marcus dialed up Ashley and laid it all bare. No more venue. The loan? Tossed aside. The wedding called for a serious scale-down or indefinite delay. According to Marcus, Ashley's reaction was fast and revealing. She didn't once ask how I felt about all the stress. She didn't leap to find solutions. Her first concern was whether your escrow could fund a smaller venue. When that was axed, she suggested postponing until a proper, i.e., costly event was possible. And your reply? I asked. I told her if her love was true, the size of the wedding wouldn't matter. We could wed at City Hall with 2 witnesses, and it'd still be meaningful. She countered, saying it showed I didn't understand what marriage symbolizes for social status. The real twist came on Saturday morning. Marcus showed up at my doorstep, envelope in hand, looking like he'd spent the night wrestling with tough choices. "Dad, you really need to see this," Marcus said, handing me over some papers. They were test results. Earlier, as I was scouring through Ashley's desk for vendor contacts, I came across an envelope full of seating arrangements for their called-off wedding. I've seen seating charts before, but this one, it was next level. It wasn't laid out to just seat guests, it was orchestrated for strategic networking. Table 1 had Ashley's parents with their fancy club pals. Table 2 was for Marcus's colleagues and their spouses from the law firm. The third table was packed with local business moguls Ashley hoped to get close with. Each assignment seemed thoughtfully arranged to milk social and career benefits. And then there was Table 7, tagged Family Obligations, with a measly 4 spots, 2 for Marcus's uncle and aunt from Durham, and a cousin he barely knew. But the kicker? A scribbled note underneath that made my heart skip a beat. Father's seat TBD, pending contribution resolution. Ashley had made my presence at the wedding conditional on my financial input. I softly called Marcus over. "Check out Table 7 here." His face quickly went from puzzled to a dawning heartbreak. "She wouldn't have let you come unless you coughed up some cash?" he inquired. "Seems that way," I nodded. "Dad, I'm really sorry, I truly am." "Save that apology for yourself, for tolerating all of this," I replied. Marcus folded up the seating plan and slipped it back into the envelope. Our eyes met, and I finally saw the son I knew, free from the version Ashley had molded over the years. "Dad, what do I do now?" Marcus asked. "Think about who you want to be," I advised. "Whether or not that includes Ashley, whether or not you want the debts hanging over you, and whether you plan to keep up the facade she's selling. It'll be painful. Growth always is. But the other option is staying a kid, and kids don't carry off marriage as well." That afternoon, Marcus prepared himself for what he deemed the conversation that'll change everything with Ashley. He went silent for 3 days, but when he finally reached out, his voice was lighter, albeit in the middle of chaos. "Dad, we've decided to take a break. Ashley's headed back to Richmond to sort things out, and the wedding's on an indefinite hold." "And how does that feel?" I queried. Relieved, nervous, grateful, like I'm able to breathe for the first time in months. About the debt, Kevin is making it into a personal loan with more flexible terms. It'll take me a couple of years to settle, but I'll manage it without risking anyone else. "Marcus, I'm really proud of you." "For what? Screwing it all up?" "No, for taking the reins and fixing things before they were set in stone." With that, the months of brewing tension began to dissolve as Marcus started to distinguish between true love and transactions, between helping and enabling, and between family bonds and business exchanges. The lessons had a steep price, but they were priceless. Sitting in the kitchen with Ruth's photo, I found solace. Not because everything was finalized, but because the truth was out there, and choices were being made based on reality, not on some fairy tale. The wedding might have been scratched, but seeing Marcus rediscover his true self meant more than any fancy event Ashley could have organized. Still, the calm that followed Marcus's choice to hit pause on the wedding was fleeting. Only lasted about a couple of days before Damon called with news that flipped my relief into worry. "Mr. Washington, there's something about Ashley you should know," he started. "Remember that LLC I brought up? I checked into the business filings. It's called Richardson Lifestyle Enterprises, set up half a year ago, following the engagement." I set down my morning coffee, intrigued. "What kind of outfit is it?" "On paper, it's a lifestyle consultancy," Damon elaborated. "But the financial records? They paint another picture. Large deposits from unidentified sources, huge payouts to luxury retailers, and activity that doesn't align with a proper business operation." Damon, spill it out straight. What's the deal? I urged. My hunch is that Ashley's been channeling money through this firm to fund a lavish lifestyle under Marcus's radar. We're talking high-end jewelry, swanky furniture, designer labels, all tracked back to Richardson Lifestyle Enterprises. When Marcus broke the news, it felt like a gut punch. Ashley wasn't only planning an over-the-top wedding, she had been secretly funding a lavish lifestyle without Marcus knowing. Based on some digging into public records, I spotted over $40,000 moving around in the last half year, maybe even more. But where was this money coming from? It didn't make sense. The deposits were random amounts at unpredictable times, definitely not a salary or family contribution. As soon as I hung up the phone, I rang Tom Harrison, my lawyer. Tom, I need you to snoop around Richardson Lifestyle Enterprises. I want everything. Who owns it? Their money dealings. Whatever's fair game. Tom replied, James, what's happening with you? Last time we spoke, you were worried about the wedding bill, and now you're on some corporate mystery hunt. Is this part of a bigger issue? I confided that the wedding debt seemed to be just scratching the surface. What Tom learned after 3 hours floored me. Turns out, Richardson Lifestyle Enterprises is a solo gig linked straight to Ashley, using her social security number. But the twist? The listed address, a P.O. box in South Charlotte, a classic move for someone trying to cloak their home address in paperwork. So what does this reveal? Whatever Ashley's up to with her business, she's keeping it distant from her personal life. That same day, I made a tough, unexpected call. I asked Marcus over for a conversation that would leave everything in its wake changed. Dad, you sounded serious. What's up? He asked when he walked in. I laid out the documents Tom fetched. Ashley's name popped up, and the odd address showing it was a lifestyle consulting business. Marcus, did you know Ashley started up a business about 6 months back? His face went blank. What business? She's only at the nonprofit, that's all she does. I clarified that this business of hers had run up at least $40,000 in transactions since January. No way! I keep an eye on our joint finances. I'd know if this kind of money was in play. We do have a shared account for wedding expenses, he added. I pop in my bonus money, and she puts away some of her salary. It's all been straight so far. A cold shiver ran down my spine, a rival to the October chill outside. Marcus, when was the last time you eyeballed your joint account statements? He paused. Not sure. Ashley's been on top of that. Details are her thing. Check your account right now. See what's happening, I insisted. Marcus pulled out his phone and browsed through the banking app. His expression said it all as he reviewed the transactions. Dad, see these withdrawals? They don't ring a bell. Massive amounts, $5,000 in August, $8,000 in September. Ashley gave the green light herself. But why? They were marked as wedding expenses, something Marcus definitely hadn't agreed to. What was the original amount supposed to be in there? $25,000, he replied, his gaze glued to the phone. My bonus combined with what Ashley put away over the months. But when he checked, Marcus's hands shook lightly. Dad, our balance is just $3,000 now. Silence hung heavy in my kitchen. Outside, life kept on. Cars whizzed by, dogs barked, and neighbors went on with their routines. Inside, Marcus was coming to grips with the reality that the woman he planned to marry was quietly siphoning their savings for unexplained reasons. Marcus, you need to dig into where that money disappeared to, I urged. There must be a mistake here. Ashley wouldn't do something like this. She just wouldn't. Sometimes people do things you never see coming when they really want something, I said. Marcus spent the next hour on the phone with his bank, seeking detailed transaction breakdowns. What he unearthed painted a messier picture than just wedding expenses. Dad, she pulled out cash and did some wire transfers. The withdrawals came from ATMs scattered across Charlotte, but the wire transfers aimed straight at Richardson Lifestyle Enterprises. So Ashley's been moving the money from her shared account with you over to her business one. But why? What on earth could she be buying that she couldn't mention to you? Just as I was trying to make sense of it all, who do I get a call from? Damon. And boy, did he sound like he'd stumbled onto something juicy. Hey, Mr. Washington, I've got a lead on where all that cash of Ashley's has been vanishing off to. A friend of mine works down at that Cartier store in the city. He's seen Ashley in there loads of times. Fancy jewelry, designer watches, accessories, the whole 9 yards. Big spender, too. How much, you ask? According to my buddy, she's dropped at least $30,000 since spring. She put it all under Richardson Lifestyle Enterprises. Says it's for her business. Marcus stared at me, looking pale as the ghost tales he'd just heard. Sorry to throw more your way, Damon. But is there more? Sure is. She's been hitting up high-end furniture stores too. But this stuff's not for wedding gifts. No way. Really posh stuff that she's telling sellers is for her consulting business. Another $15,000 at least. Once I hung up, Marcus was just staring at his cell like it might magically give him answers. Dad, Ashley's been lying through her teeth. For months, maybe even longer. All those stories about our money, her plans, what she was doing with our cash, it's all just made up. I tried to comfort him. Marcus, I'm really sorry you have to deal with this. I know it stings. He just shook his head, looking destroyed. How was I so blind to this? Because you believed in her, I said. That's not foolish. That's trust. Sadly, Ashley chose to betray it. Right then, my phone rings again with a number I didn't know. But the voice was all too familiar. Kevin Shaw, and he sounded seriously rattled. Mr. Washington, we've got a massive issue. There are vendors threatening to sue over unpaid deposits. I replied, that's Marcus's problem, not mine. And that's when he dropped the shocker. Sir, your name's on these contracts as the financial backer. Legally, you might be on the hook for these debts. My heart skipped a beat. I've never put my name as any guarantor. He went on. Well, the wedding planner's contract states that the main family contact is responsible for vendor costs. Marcus listened, panic growing by the minute. Mr. Shaw, I need you to send me any documents that have my so-called signature. I need to see what I've supposedly agreed to. Kevin hurriedly said, Mr. Washington, we've got to sort this pronto. Premier Catering's ready to sue, Harborview Estate wants cancellation fees immediately, and Platinum Events Photography seeking compensation for lost bookings. It's a total disaster. How much is this going to cost? I asked, feeling anxious. About $35,000 in total. After we hung up, Marcus and I just sat there, completely shell-shocked. The wedding that was supposed to be $190,000 was now sinking us in expenses, even though it wasn't happening. Dad, Marcus said, totally defeated, I'm doomed. Our joint account is empty. Ashley's taken our money, and now these guys want $35,000 in fees from us. I tried to help him keep it together. Marcus, take a few deep breaths. Let's handle this mess, one piece at a time. I immediately dialed Tom Harrison. Tom, I need you to go through some vendor contracts. Kevin Shaw says I'm financially liable for wedding costs, but I've never agreed to act as a guarantor. James, Tom replied, send me everything you've got. I'll dig into it tonight and get back to you first thing tomorrow. That evening, Marcus sat surrounded by piles of bank statements, trying to unravel the tangled mess Ashley had left behind. I remembered Ruth's words about how true character shines when times get tough. Crisis reveals who people truly are. In her moment of crisis, Ashley chose deceit, theft, and manipulation. She drained their bank accounts, left Marcus vulnerable legally, all while casting herself as a victim pinned by my supposed financial shortcomings. Marcus, however, chose honesty. He was genuinely sorry and prepared to deal with the consequences. He was learning and growing, becoming the man Ruth and I had always hoped he would. Dad, Marcus said quietly, not lifting his eyes from the mountain of paperwork, I owe you an apology that words can't even begin to cover. For what? I asked him. For choosing Ashley's path to success over the values you instilled in me. For excluding you from the wedding plans, yet expecting you to pay for it all. For believing love had a price tag and that family could be sidelined. I replied, Marcus, no need to apologize to me. You really owe it to yourself. To promise yourself you'll never let someone treat you like this again. What if I can't trust my own judgment anymore? What if I'm just bad at reading people? He asked. Then you'll learn, I assured him. Experience is costly, but it's the best teacher you'll find. The next morning, Tom got in touch with some news that changed everything legally. James, I've sifted through all the paperwork Kevin Shaw sent over, and here's the situation. You're not liable for any of the vendor debts. The wedding planner contract is worded in a way that's meant to trick you into thinking you're financially responsible when you're not. So relax, the vendors can't legally pursue you. They might try, but they've got no grounds. It all falls on whoever actually booked them, Marcus and Ashley in this case. As for Shaw's talk about you being a financial guarantor, he was just trying to mislead you, betting that you didn't know the difference between being a contact and being responsible for payment. I first felt relief flood in, swiftly followed by anger at Shaw's underhanded tactics. Tom, can we take action against Shaw for this? I asked. We could, Tom conceded, but it's probably not worth the trouble right now. The bigger issue is whether Marcus should bear the full cost since Ashley was equally at fault. That day I did something unexpected. I called Ashley. James, why are you calling? She asked, sounding puzzled. Because my son deserves the truth about who he was set to marry. I don't see what you mean, she replied, hesitant. $30,000 at Richardson Lifestyle Enterprises for jewelry never mentioned, and $22,000 withdrawn from Marcus's joint account without a word. Should I keep going? There was a silence so long I wondered if she'd hung up. Ashley, are you still there? I asked. How did you find out about that? She finally said. Does it really matter? I retorted. What matters is you lived a double life funded by money stolen from someone who trusted you. I didn't steal, she claimed. That money was for our future together. You mean jewelry and posh furniture were part of your future plans? You wouldn't get it, she shot back. In my world, appearances are everything. Marcus needed to see I could elevate his status, even if it meant emptying the bank or defining what success looks like. That's where we ended it because I realized we saw the world too differently to ever agree. For Ashley, deception for appearances wasn't just fine, it was essential. Later that night, Marcus took a big step forward from being a victim. Dad, tomorrow I'm going to call Kevin Shaw to cancel all pending vendor contracts and figure out reasonable cancellation fees. I'm closing the joint account Ashley could use, and I'm going to the police over the unauthorized transfers. Are you sure about involving the police? I asked. I know I want this dealt with properly, he said. Ashley needs to face the consequences of her actions, and I need to stop explaining them away. Marcus, I'm really proud of you, I told him. Let's save the applause, Dad. I've got 2 years' worth of debt to tackle and a lot of rebuilding to do, but at least I'm starting with a clean slate. Everything unraveled just the way it needed to. Ashley's fibs were out in the open. Marcus finally saw the truth, and those vendor threats turned out to be just empty threats. The real task now was piecing life back together based on reality, not fantasy. That night, as I gazed at Ruth's picture in my kitchen, I felt a warm satisfaction. Not from proving a point, but from seeing my son choose truth over pretense. The lessons came with a hefty price, but they were worth every penny. Then just 3 weeks later, I got a phone call that flipped everything again. Marcus was on the line, sounding a mix of weary and determined. Something new for him. Dad, Ashley's back from Richmond. She's up for moving forward with the wedding. I set my newspaper aside. What wedding are we talking about? You called the whole thing off. She says she's secured new funds. Her parents agreed to foot the bill if we scale back. She's booked a smaller location for this Saturday. And what's your take on that? I told her I needed to think it over, Dad. She's acting as if all the financial mess was just a misunderstanding. Like we can just brush off the deceit and hidden accounts. What's your plan? I'm keen to see who she really is under pressure. Has she truly turned a new leaf, or is she just covering her tracks better? I cautioned, Marcus, that's playing with fire. Maybe, but I need to know the truth to move on, he said. Later that day, Ashley gave me a call. Her voice had that artificial cheeriness, like a slick insurance pitch. James, I wanted to personally invite you to our wedding this Saturday. There's been a bit of confusion, but Marcus and I want to make a fresh start. Wait a minute, wasn't the wedding supposed to be off? Nah, we found this cute spot in Davidson that's perfect for an intimate gathering. Fits the budget too. And where do I fit into all this? You're Marcus's dad. Naturally, you're invited. Yet something in her tone waved a red flag. Okay, Ashley, be honest. Do you actually want me there? A pause followed, one that lingered a bit too long. James, family's important to both of us. Her response danced around the question. Of course we want you there. After the call, I immediately got in touch with Damon. Can you check out a venue for me and Davidson? Ashley supposedly booked it for Saturday. Sure thing. What's your gut feeling? It's telling me Ashley's just changing tactics. Same old game. A few hours passed, then Damon reached back out. Mr. Washington, there's no wedding venue booked in Davidson for this Saturday. I called every venue. Nothing listed under Richardson or Washington or any combination. Are you sure? Absolutely. That means Ashley's fibbing about the venue or has a different scheme in mind altogether. Later that evening, Marcus dropped by, looking more troubled than in a long while. Dad, something's not making sense. Ashley's got a new story every time about Saturday. First it was going to be outside, then inside. Now she's talking about doing it at her parents' place in Richmond. Marcus, has she shown you any paperwork, vendor contracts, anything official about the wedding? She claims her folks are handling all the arrangements, so I shouldn't sweat the details. Son, if anything, take that as a warning sign. Then Friday night hit, and I got the call I dreaded. Ashley rang, her upbeat facade gone. James, we've shifted plans for tomorrow. What shift are we talking about? Well, we're opting for a super intimate ceremony. Just me, Marcus, my parents, and the officiant. Very personal, very meaningful. And Marcus is aware of this. He's on board. We both think it's best to focus on what truly matters. Our relationship, minus the outside interferences. Outside interferences? Is that how you're categorizing his dad now? James, you've made your feelings about us quite clear. We want no negativity on our day. Right after hanging up, I called Marcus. He answered right away. Dad, Ashley just filled me in that you're sitting tomorrow out because you're under the weather. Funny, because Ashley just told me you decided you preferred a private ceremony sans family. The silence afterward was deafening. Hey Marcus, you still there? She's been playing both of us. Yep, it's true. Dad, what's my move here? Go with whatever you decide. Just do it with your eyes wide open. Saturday morning came around and I made a bold call that I couldn't put off any longer. I hopped over to Davidson to figure out what Ashley was really up to. If a wedding was going down, I'd see it for myself. If not, I'd expose her little game. The spot was Riverside Gardens, a charming venue I hadn't even considered since it's technically in Cornelius, not Davidson. I found it by trailing white balloons and clues from Ashley's social media posts. I parked nearby, watching the scene unfold as vendors bustled about. There was a small catering setup, a flower van, and a photographer, not the top-notch flash-packed group Ashley had first booked. This was her last-minute, budget-friendly gig, clear as day. By 10:30, Marcus showed up, looking like someone marching to the gallows. He lurked in the parking lot for a solid 5 minutes before finally going inside. I waited a bit longer before making my move. I crossed over and strolled into Riverside Gardens like I belonged. It was a modest yet pretty setup, rows of white chairs, basic floral arrangements, and a simple archway for the vows, I guessed. Maybe around 40 folks there, none familiar to me except for Ashley's parents. There she was, greeting everyone in a lovely white dress that clearly wasn't the designer dream she'd planned. Ashley had originally picked a fancy designer gown. When she noticed me, her face went through a slideshow of emotions. Shock, anger, a quick think, then a forced attempt to be nice. James, wow, what a surprise. I heard you were under the weather. All good, I said, really excited for my son's big day. She frowned a bit. I'm not sure if there's a spot for you. We sorted the seating from your RSVP. I can stand, I replied, not budging an inch. Just then, Ashley's mom wandered over, clearly a pro at mixing charm with a little steely resolve. Mr. Washington, so nice to see you, but it looks like there's been a little planning hiccup today. No errors here, I said plainly. My son's tying the knot. I'm not skipping out on that. Of course, she answered, but this is a tight-knit gathering, very specifically organized. Well then, the groom's dad should have been part of those plans. I held my ground. Ashley's dad joined us, a guy whose strong handshake said he was no stranger to handling tricky situations calmly. Mr. Washington, maybe we could talk outside? I'm not being unreasonable, I argued. I just want to see my son get wed. Sir, we planned today with certain family dynamics in mind. What dynamics? I snapped. Choosing to exclude the groom's dad from the wedding? Our little exchange had folks turning our way, curious about the commotion at the door. Ashley blushed deeply, caught between fury and embarrassment. James, you're making a scene. Just laying out the facts, I said. You told Marcus I wouldn't be here. You said it was just for close family. Now you want me to leave quietly so no one questions why the groom's dad isn't around? That's when Marcus appeared, drawn by the raised voices and the crowd that had gathered. He saw me, his face a mix of relief, surprise, and maybe even some gratitude. Dad, why are you here? Came to see your wedding, son. He glanced at Ashley and her parents. Ashley told me you weren't coming, he said, clearly confused. Ashley said a whole lot that wasn't true, I pointed out. Marcus was putting it all together, glancing between me and Ashley, trying to make sense of it. Ashley, did you really tell my dad he couldn't come? He asked, level-headed. Marcus, we discussed this. We wanted something simple, no hassles. But we never talked about banning Dad, he insisted. You said he was being tricky with the finances. Being cautious with money isn't troublesome, he retorted, and that's no reason to shut him out of my wedding. Ashley's facade totally crumbled then. Marcus, you need to choose. We do this my way with the right people, or we're done. The room went quiet, everyone sensing this was a pivotal moment for Marcus. Marcus remained unmoved. Ashley, he's my dad. If you can't accept him, then you can't really accept me. Don't be ridiculous, she implored. This is about having standards, not pushing people away. Whose standards? Marcus inquired. Ours. The standards for the life we want, she replied firmly. A life that doesn't include my family isn't the one I'm looking for, Marcus stated confidently. Ashley's calm demeanor started to fade. Marcus, your family is an embarrassment. Your dad's a maintenance worker who doesn't understand how things work in our world. My friends are all professionals. They expect class. Well, my dad was an engineer who retired after getting me through college. He's the most respectable person I know, Marcus shot back. Respect doesn't get you into exclusive circles. Then maybe those circles aren't for us, Marcus responded. I watched as my son had the conversation he needed to have, not only with me, but with himself. He was figuring out what mattered, what was worth keeping, and what needed to go. Ashley tried one more time to salvage the situation. Marcus, if you embarrass me here, there's no turning back. Good, Marcus replied in a composed voice, because I don't want to come back. He faced the guests, raising his voice enough for everyone to hear. The place was packed. Thanks for being here today, everyone. I'm sorry to announce there isn't going to be a wedding, Marcus said. Ashley and I don't see eye to eye on what marriage is supposed to be. It's better we figure this out now, rather than making commitments we can't honor. The silence was heavy. Ashley's mom made a sound that was a mix between a cough and a cry. Her dad seemed to be calculating the social cost of this public spectacle. Ashley stood frozen for a moment before launching her final jab. You'll regret this, Marcus. You're giving up everything we've built for someone who can't even pay for the wedding. Marcus stayed calm. No, I'm leaving a fantasy for a person who truly cares about me. He turned to me and said, Dad, how about lunch? Looks like I've got the day free. As we made our way out, Ashley was behind us, explaining to guests that the wedding was delayed due to a family emergency. Even now, she kept up the facade. Once in the parking lot, Marcus stopped, looking back at Riverside Gardens as people slowly exited, confused and disappointed. Dad, did I just make the biggest mistake of my life? He asked. Marcus, you might have made the best decision yet. It doesn't feel like it. It feels terrifying. Well, that's part of growing up. We went to a diner in Charlotte where the coffee was straightforward, and the waitresses called everyone honey. Marcus ordered eggs and bacon like he hadn't eaten for days. I got the same and watched as he started to relax bit by bit. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. How did you know Ashley wasn't right for me? Because she wanted you to feel shame about where you come from. Anyone who loves you would never ask that of you. What if I never find someone who accepts me as I am? Then you're better off alone than with someone who loves an image. Marcus ate slowly, savoring his newfound freedom. Outside, life continued its usual weekend pace, unaware that my son had just chosen authenticity over acceptance, family over pretense. The wedding, slated to cost $190,000, ended up costing just the price of a couple of breakfast plates and the courage to reject those who confuse love with money. It was the best investment we ever made. The reaction to calling off the wedding was quick. By Sunday morning, my phone was buzzing endlessly with calls from strangers who thought they had a say in Marcus's love life. Ashley's social media was overflowing with cryptic posts about family interference and toxic love, painting herself as a victim of circumstances beyond her control. Marcus spent that day with me, helping out in Ruth's garden and dealing with the aftermath. Dad, Ashley's telling everyone you threatened to cut me off if I went through with marrying her, Marcus said. Without looking away from Ruth's beloved tomato plants, I asked, and what are you telling people? The truth, that I realized I was about to marry someone who wanted me to feel embarrassed about my family. How's that going over? People have mixed feelings. Some think I'm crazy for ending things with Ashley, while others never understood why I was with her in the first place. What do you think about it all? Marcus was quiet for a bit, focused on tending the garden. I spent 2 years trying to become someone I wasn't, thinking it was for the better, and nearly lost myself in the process. Monday came with some shocking updates. Damon called, revealing something that cast a shadow over Ashley's recent behavior. Mr. Washington, I figured out why Ashley was so dead set on having any sort of wedding ceremony yesterday. What did you uncover? Turns out she had a deal with Charlotte Lifestyle magazine for an exclusive feature. It was supposed to be about from modest beginnings to high society, a love story, complete with wedding photos scheduled for this month. My legs gave out and I sat down. She intended to profit from the marriage, and it gets worse. The magazine paid her up front. Ashley received a $5,000 advance covering some of those missing business funds. She wasn't just preoccupied with wedding planning, she was setting the stage for her personal brand. Does Marcus know yet? Not a clue. You should be the one to tell him. When Marcus stopped by that evening, I showed him an email Damon had forwarded. It was from Charlotte Lifestyle magazine, an editor's friendly note asking when they could expect the wedding photos and final interview for their feature story. Marcus read it a couple of times, shifting from disbelief to anger, finally settling on a sort of sad acceptance. So this is what our love story was to her. Dad, how could I have missed all of this? How was I blind to everything being formatted for public consumption? Because you were in love, son. Love makes us hopeful, often seeing the potential in someone rather than their true self. Who sells their wedding to a magazine without telling their partner? Someone who sees relationships as business transactions. Tuesday brought Ashley to my door unexpectedly. She looked worn down, like the weekend had drained her. James, we need to talk, she said. We really don't, I replied. Just 5 minutes, please. Against my instincts, I let her in, and we sat at the kitchen table, the very spot where Marcus decided not to proceed with the loan, where her financial deceit was laid bare, where lies were exposed. She started, I want to explain what happened on Saturday. Ashley, Saturday was when everything became clear. No need for explanations, I replied. You don't understand the pressure I was under. My parents, friends, they were all counting on this wedding. I couldn't just back out and let everyone down. So to avoid embarrassment, you planned a fake wedding and left out the father of the groom? I challenged. It wasn't fake. I love Marcus. You love the idea of him, a young professional who could raise your status. But not the real man behind it all, with a dad who works maintenance and modest beginnings. Her calm demeanor faltered. That's not fair. What's unfair is asking him to turn his back on his family for your approval. Marcus has potential, but he needs genuine support to truly succeed. At what cost? His integrity, relationships, himself? You're just being dramatic. Am I, Ashley? You took money from the joint account, lied about what you were doing, excluded his family from the wedding, sold your story to a magazine. If that's what success is, Marcus is better off failing. She sat silently, hands clasped on my table. What now? The wedding's off, and my reputation's in ruins. Maybe it's time to build something real. Your past was built on lies. Easy for you to say. You have no idea what my world is like. You're right, I don't understand a world where love is a PR move and family's disposable. And I'm relieved Marcus got out before he became part of that. Ashley left without another word, and I never saw her again. Marcus told me she kept calling. Her apologies always came with excuses, promises to change with conditions, and eventually threats about what her family might do to his career. Marcus stayed composed, responding to each call with polite firmness, and gradually coming to see the real Ashley, distinct from the illusion he fell for. On Wednesday, I wasn't expecting to see Kevin Shaw at my door. He looked worn out and frantic. Mr. Washington, we really need to have a chat about Marcus's financial responsibilities, he said. Marcus doesn't owe you anything financially, I responded firmly. Kevin pressed on. There are vendor contracts left unpaid, and now there are cancellation fees from Saturday. I shot back. Those are Ashley's contracts. She can settle them. He sighed. Her parents aren't willing to cover the costs. They said she didn't have their approval. I shrugged. That's something she needs to work out herself. It was at that moment that Shaw's facade slipped a little. He looked overwhelmed. Mr. Washington, if I can't get these debts cleared up, my business is doomed. I've been fronting the vendor payments out of my own pocket, hoping the wedding would actually go through. Mr. Shaw, you've set up a business model that encourages folks to live beyond their means. Now you're seeing the consequences when harsh reality sets in. I wanted to help young couples make their dreams come true, he replied defensively. No, I corrected him. You allowed them to indulge in fantasies funded by borrowed money. There's a big difference. As Kevin walked away, it was clear he finally realized that other people's dreams wouldn't keep his business afloat once reality hit. The next evening, Thursday, Marcus and I finally had a heart-to-heart I'd been longing for since everything went south. It wasn't about Ashley, money, or weddings. It was about what kind of person he wanted to be moving forward. Dad, he started, I've been thinking hard about what you said, about choosing who I want to become. I want to be someone Mom would take pride in, someone who is honest, keeps his word, and remains genuine. I nodded. That's who you already are. You just lost sight of it for a bit. How do I keep from losing it again? He asked. Remember, the ones who love you cherish the best version of you, not some other version. Friday brought a peculiar kind of closure. Charlotte Lifestyle magazine called to inform me they were dropping the feature on Marcus and Ashley. The story's gotten a bit too complicated, the editor explained. Our readers prefer happily ever afters. What about the advance you paid Ashley? I inquired. That's for us and Miss Richardson to resolve, the editor said. I'll just note that inaccuracies breach our agreements. Saturday morning, exactly a week after the wedding debacle, Marcus surprised me with good news. Dad, Damon rang me up yesterday. He's offering me a role in his business expansion. What role? I asked, curious. Marketing, business development, the strategic kind of stuff I do at the firm, but geared towards helping small businesses, real people build real things. And you're interested? He nodded. I want my work to mean something. Damon's about creating authentic stuff, like helping families preserve their memories rather than concocting images. And what about your law firm job? I inquired. For now, I'll keep working there, he explained, but I'll do some consulting with Damon over the weekends. Dad, I want to create something meaningful without having to fake it. That afternoon, we went to visit Ruth's grave. It was Marcus's first time back since the funeral, and I watched him kneel, tears in his eyes. Mom, sorry I got lost there for a while. I forgot everything you and Dad taught me about what really matters. I kneeled beside him. She knows, son, and she's proud of your choices. We sat there in silence, finding connection through our shared grief and newfound clarity. By Sunday night, as October turned into November, Marcus and I were in the kitchen cooking dinner. right where our troubles started with that eye-popping $190,000 invoice. Dad, can I ask you something? Sure thing, I replied. Do you think I'll ever meet someone who loves me for who I am? I think you already have someone who does. I smiled. Really? Who? He asked, surprised. You, I said. And that's the cornerstone of every healthy relationship. Cooking alongside each other, sharing stories and laughter, I felt Ruth's presence more strongly than I had since her passing. It wasn't about sadness or grief anymore, but a sense of wholeness. Together, we had raised a son who had veered off course, but found his way back to what truly counted. The wedding, initially set at $190,000, ended up costing something even more valuable, yet far cheaper. The illusions that kept Marcus from embracing his authentic self. And as Ruth would have seen it, that was an invaluable investment. Our journey taught us some valuable lessons. You can't buy love, status isn't a thing you can just imitate, and family isn't something you upgrade. You don't learn these things from textbooks or lectures. They come from heart-wrenching experiences that crack you open, letting a bit of light shine through. Marcus found the freedom to start living truthfully rather than putting on a show, and I could finally appreciate the man he was becoming, not the one he was pretending to be. That day started rough but ended on a high note, an odd sort of day if you'd ask me. 2 months after a wedding that never happened, Marcus and I found new, more genuine ways to spend time together. Sunday dinners became a tradition, just the two of us cooking Ruth's recipes and catching up while steering clear of past memories. Marcus took that engagement ring back to the jeweler, the same place Ashley had chosen it. Surprisingly, the store manager was cool about it and gave him 60% of the money back, even though they usually didn't do returns. While sharing pot roast and mashed potatoes, Marcus confessed, I thought it'd be hard to return the ring, but it felt like a burden lifted, like returning something that wasn't mine to begin with. Curious, I asked why. He replied, the ring was tied to a version of me I thought I needed to be, successful and classy enough for Ashley's crowd. Once I realized I didn't want that, the ring lost its meaning. Sorting out financial issues was a hassle, but ultimately liberating. Marcus closed Richardson Lifestyle Enterprises, which involved one last conversation with Ashley to sign the papers. The business seemed to be just a front for her extravagant shopping. She kept the jewelry, Marcus said, shaking his head. I think she always intended to stash away pricey pieces, but leave others to foot the bill. So that make you mad? I inquired. For about a week, sure, he admitted. But then I realized my anger wasn't about the loss of the jewelry, but the lies. Letting go seemed easier when I saw it might weigh Ashley down more than it did me. How so? I asked, and Marcus explained. Every fancy piece reminds her of the choices she made and how those choices cost her someone who genuinely cared. Marcus also squared things with Kevin Shaw's fill-in, a decent financial advisor who helps folks recover from bad decisions. Clearing the debts would take 3 years instead of 6 months, but with better terms and transparency throughout. They feel like debts I should pay. Oddly satisfying, he commented, as I added, that's dignity, but it does have a price. Our bond evolved, shifting from saving each other to genuine collaboration. Marcus joined me most Saturdays in the garden, picking up where Ruth left off, learning which plants needed planting each spring and which were perennials. Mom had this garden all figured out, he observed as he carefully tended to plants Ruth had nurtured the previous year. Every plant's got its purpose, its season, its connection. That's how your mom managed relationships too, I pointed out. She wanted to cultivate things that lasted beyond the people involved. Is that why you weren't on board with me marrying Ashley? He asked. No, I replied. I just didn't want you losing yourself over it. The reactions to the canceled wedding were unexpected. Some people Marcus thought were tight disappeared when the glamorous party stopped. But then, neighbors we'd hardly interacted with before showed up with kindness, simple invitations, and genuine connection. Mrs. Henderson from down the street invited me to her grandson's birthday, Marcus shared once. When he asked her why, she said he seemed like someone who'd truly enjoy watching a 5-year-old blow out candles. And did you? Yeah, way more than Ashley's fancy parties. There's something truly beautiful about a celebration that doesn't need a spotlight or an audience. Marcus reconnected with folks Ashley had subtly distanced him from, like Damon and some of his other buddies. Remember how college roommates can stay close even when life pulls them in different directions? Marcus's college friends, now teachers and social workers, always remembered his birthday, staying in touch without needing to post everything online. When they worried, they'd call to check in, keeping things real. Dad, Marcus brought up one day, I've been chasing this idea of success for so long by just performing that I've lost touch with what it really feels like to genuinely accomplish something. What is that feeling like? It's something within, more subtle and personal, definitely not something you just flaunt for everyone to notice. Then, as winter rolled around, Charlotte Marcus did something even I didn't foresee. He took a job at a nonprofit dedicated to teaching financial literacy to families in areas that don't get a lot of help. It pays less, he confessed, but it's meaningful work. I want to help people avoid the financial mistakes I fell into and guide them to make choices aligned with their values instead of just chasing dreams. He thought Ruth would be happy. I really hope so, he declared. I want to create something she'd find significant. December brought some closure when Ashley sent Marcus a letter. Not a quick email or a text, but an old-fashioned handwritten note on fancy paper that cost more than a regular meal. Marcus didn't need my help responding. He showed it to me because being open matters to him now. Dear Marcus, it opened, I've spent some time pondering what happened between us, and I understand where you were coming from. In my eagerness to create something special, I think I lost sight of what truly mattered. I hope you find happiness with someone who appreciates the life you want to lead. With respect, Ashley. What do you think? Marcus asked me. It's nicely worded, but doesn't really take responsibility while still being polite, I said. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Should I reply? Do you want to? No. And that realization told him exactly what he needed to know about his own healing. On Christmas morning, Marcus and I were making breakfast at my place, watching the snow fall outside the windows. We invited Damon, his girlfriend, Mrs. Henderson, and her grandson to join us. A kind of celebration Ruth would have adored, centered around real gratitude without any flashy display. While setting the table, Marcus chose Ruth's everyday plates, intentionally avoiding the fancy ones Ashley would have preferred. Dad, he said, can I share something I've come to understand? Of course. Real love doesn't need glitter or spotlights. It doesn't beg for approval from strangers or likes on social media. Choosing honesty over accolades means deciding to be the person Mom raised, not the illusion Ashley created. Sometimes the bravest act is disappointing the people who shouldn't hold sway over you. It's not a dad's job to fund his child's dreams. It's to show what true integrity looks like when all the glitter's gone. I looked at Marcus, truly looked, and saw someone Ruth would recognize. Not perfect, not unscarred, but genuine in a way that made everything else make sense. Marcus, I told him, this is the best Christmas present your mom could have wished for. What's that? Seeing you choose love, depth, and family over all the superficial stuff. As our guests arrived, bringing genuine laughter and warmth into the room, I knew Marcus had learned an invaluable lesson. He understood what truly matters deep within, beyond what money can buy or what impresses others. It's unconditional love. The nearly missed wedding taught us more than any ceremony ever could. The strongest relationships are built on honesty, bound by respect, and celebrated among those who appreciate you just as you are. And as Ruth would say, that beats any jewel you could find in Charlotte. It's about demonstrating true integrity when no one's looking, and the spotlight isn't on you anymore.